The Federal Reserve now is openly advocating treason against the United States by siding with the Chinese on trade policy.
Hey friends, Sean from SGT Report here. Thank you so very much for tuning in, and a special thanks to my patrons and those who subscribed to my backup channel, SGT Report 2 on YouTube. We're going to discuss YouTube's censorship just briefly because Susan Wojcicki tweeted out on Tuesday something that Mark Dice responded to and something I responded to. But before we do that, let's welcome our special guest. It's Bob Kudla from Trade Genius. Bob, how are you?
I'm good, Sean. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, and I know we've got a lot to talk about because today gold is around $1,550 USD and silver up another 50 cents at $18.15. Boy, the hits just keep on coming, and we've got the Fed making really drastic remarks about our current president. So very much to talk about. Do you mind if I read this tweet to you, though, first from Susan Wojcicki?
Oh, go for it.
All right, listen to this. This was on Tuesday. Ms. Wojcicki, the CEO of YouTube, tweeted out, quote, "Preserving YouTube as an open platform is more important than ever. My latest letter to creators is all about how YouTube balances openness with its responsibility to protect the community." And then she links to that letter, to which I responded, "Hi, Susan. Could you please explain why YouTube terminated the Iconoclast YouTube channel yesterday without warning? That channel had no community guideline strikes and was in good standing. We all want to play by the rules, but what are the rules?" And I'll tell you, it's because the rules keep changing. They keep moving the measuring stick. We don't even know what their community guidelines are or why people get strikes anymore, Bob. And then I'll get your response, but then I'll read this tweet from Mark Dice in response to Susan.
Well, PragerU is in court today at the Ninth Circuit with that same exact question. They're saying, look, the social media giants want their cake and eat it too. They want to call themselves a platform, but then they want to act as a publisher with no liability. So I think this stuff's going to come to a head. I think it's going to get out of the Ninth Circuit, and then it's going to go to the Supreme Court. Then I think probably Trump's going to weigh in. He has no choice. I don't know. On Twitter, I'm getting stuff dished to me that is exact opposite of my values and my viewpoint. So, and they said things I may like. And they must be some sort of joke. It's because things I absolutely do not like. So I know they've now turned on the jets to try to win the election. And then I know we're going to talk about the Fed. So that's just taking it to a whole other level as well.
Yeah. Well, just getting back to Wojcicki's tweet, and I haven't yet read her community letter to creators, but Mark Dice responded, quote, "Speaking of openness, why is it when people look me up on YouTube, my own videos are buried at the bottom of the page and the top search results are other people's videos about me, but YouTube highlights Philip DeFranco's two most recent videos at the top when looking him up?" I think the point Mark Dice is trying to make is that not only is it no longer a level playing field, we're seeing vast differences in the way certain YouTube creators are treated. For instance, I see all of Tim Pool's stuff recommended. Tim Pool puts up a video, it'll get 250,000 views in 24 hours, 300, 400, 500, 700,000 views in a couple of days. I used to get view counts like that, but I don't anymore. Well, I guess you made the point. This Prager University lawsuit is one of the most important lawsuits right now in the history of our nation, because as that lawsuit goes, so goes free speech.
Yeah, I mean, look, they basically lumped him in with pornographers. This is an Orthodox Jew, okay, who is as G-rated as you get, and it's some sort of cruel joke. I mean, the arrogance is coming out. I think it's either arrogance or desperation, and but I think it's all going to come to a head this year, Sean. So I think we just have to keep the faith and keep pushing forward because, you know, they're ultimately losing the strategic battle.
Well, you're right about that. They're losing the hearts and minds, right? They're losing the battle in the public square. So that's why they announced back around January 22nd of this year, YouTube I'm talking about, announced they were changing their algorithms to filter out things that they deem to be misinformation and to prop up sources that they deem to be more authoritative, which you and I both know, Bob, means authoritarian, right? Think China, authoritarian government. Don't question anything. Big Brother is always right. Look to Google for the only answers, one answer to every question, as Eric Schmidt famously said. He said, there's a bug in Google that we need to fix, because for every question, there should only be one answer, the right answer, and we should be able to provide that every single time. I mean, can you think of anything more lunatic than that?
No, and in fact, I just saw an article today that said, China at least is transparent about their social credit score, whereas the United States, we've outsourced it to the social media giants.
Yeah, that's right. And the social media giants would love to enforce a social credit score in the United States. So your social credit score will fall if your views, your tweets, your YouTube videos are not in line with their talking points and their beliefs. If you're not a happy socialist parroting the Marxist talking points, then your social credit score will fall, will plummet. Eventually, you'll be deplatformed, you'll be debanked, you won't be able to do business. This is basically the Rockefeller program that Nicholas Rockefeller warned us about what they want to do, right? Take the chip. If you don't take the chip, if they don't like your politics, they'll turn off the chip and you won't be able to do business. You won't be able to buy or sell. I mean, it's really mark of the beast type stuff.
Oh, without doubt.
All righty, let's talk about the Fed. There's a hot mess going on with this G7. I mean, I just spoke about this with Harley Schlanger. I'll be posting that video in the next 24 hours. And I'm astounded to see what the Fed is doing, what they're saying. We've got the head of the Bank of England saying that the Fed ought to introduce a Libra-like currency, a crypto-like currency to usurp the dollar and to roll out their new world economic plan. These guys are nuts. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, well, they're dropping the veil now. I think, Trump has an ability to force people out into the open and basically declare their views. And it always comes back to bite these guys. I mean, Carney basically said, hey, buy Bitcoin, and as if the whole world is going to accept a digital coin from a private banking cartel that if you don't follow their precepts, you're basically going to starve to death in some ghetto somewhere. And then today, the knucklehead Dudley comes out and says basically the Fed has purview over everything in the United States, including the election, and we don't agree with Trump's trade policy. So therefore, we should basically not support him. Basically, advocate their two main roles in as part of their founding as a stable dollar, which is not stable. They're letting it rise incredibly fast, which is not only hurting the United States, it's going to bankrupt half the world that follows the dollar as a lead currency, and then employment, and all because they wanted to control the election and Trump wouldn't let them. He forced them out. This guy Dudley, he's going to eat these words. Trump is going to hang this around the Fed's neck for the next 9 months and basically saying the Federal Reserve now is openly advocating treason against the United States by siding with the Chinese on trade policy. And we all know already that they keep interest rates higher so they could support the Europeans, so the Europeans have a place that generates higher yield than what they're pushing out in their fake currency called the euro. So all this is coming to a head, and it needs to keep getting exposed because these guys they're politicians, but they like to be rats. They don't want to be out in the sun. And Trump is kicking over the wood pile and forcing these guys out into the light. And it's going to be ugly, and they're going to be ham-handed. And I think it's going to be to our benefit. But in the meantime, it's just given us a tremendous opportunity to profit because the real currencies now are starting to take hold, and the fiats are going to start really to fall away. The Fed has no idea what they just created here, and the Bank of England this past week by their statements. Basically, people are like, you better get out of every other currency in the world because these guys have their own agenda.
Yeah, we see gold and silver rising very, very quickly now, and we haven't seen that in, years, to be honest with you. We've only seen them go down, pretty much silver specifically. We'll talk about that in a second. But you used an important word. You used the word treason. It is treason. And these bankers are at war with the president, just like the left in the mainstream Mockingbird horror media has been at war with this president. And Dudley, the ex-New York Fed president, said something astounding. He is basically urging Federal Reserve Chairman Powell to prevent Trump's reelection. So not only is it election meddling, it is truly outright treason. And the quote is, there's even an argument that the election itself falls within the Fed's purview. These guys still believe themselves to be masters of the universe. The Rothschild Rockefeller created Federal Reserve has been and still is the enemy of the people. So if anybody wants to malign President Trump as being a puppet Zionist just playing his role, then explain to me why the powers that be, the most anti-human powers that be on earth, are aligned against this president if he's just playing his role, Bob. I don't buy it.
No, I mean, look, Trump's the usurper here. He's the Nebuchadnezzar of his day. He's been thrown in to blow up this den of vipers. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. The Fed, I think they have some sort of popular support. I was just thinking that all Trump has to say is the longer it takes Powell to lower interest rates, the higher you pay in your credit card so that China and Europe can benefit. I mean, he could pound these guys ceaselessly for weeks and months on end. And he's going to force the Senate and the House to hold hearings because he's going to agitate the people to such a level that they're going to be forced into this conversation. And who knows? Maybe they're going to now capitulate and give Trump what he wants. But it doesn't really matter anymore. You talked about silver and gold. Silver since June 1st, I sent you a chart, up 25%, Sean. Remember how, cautious you've been on this because how many times we've done the double Dutch dance with silver, and now it just ripped. And now we're seeing some of these miners are now up 50%, 100%, and it's not priced in yet, Sean. You're going to see some of these miners now in the next 3 to 6 months double, triple, and quadruple because they had not factored in this higher price. And then there's a volume void in silver where it could jump from $18 to $21 without blinking because there was hardly any transaction volume in that area. And a lot of times prices will jump to where the next level of resistance is, which is 10% higher. So, we've been pounding the table forever on gold and silver, and now we're starting to profit mightily from it. And it's not over. This is just inning 3 of this baseball game. And when it's said and done, you're going to see silver and gold prices that are going to astound people and the miners, and everything else is going to fall away. And you're going to be positioned then for this next reset, whatever it's going to be, with some coin in your pocket.
Yeah, let's just talk a little bit about Trade Genius. I want to give you an opportunity to plug it because it is a way to make money. Now, as we're having this conversation today, the headline on Zero Hedge is Silver and Gold Soar, Yields and Small Caps Plunge as Trade Deal Hope Tanks. Now, with Trade Genius, even when the small caps and the stock market is plunging, you can still make money because you're not focused on the entire stock market. Your algos are focused on the right stocks behaving in the right way that look like they're primed to be bought. Can you just explain to people how that works?
Yeah, so a macro overview is that, our goal is to inform and to educate. And part of that is providing trade signals on stocks that our algorithms have determined that are in the right sectors and are going to be moving higher. And basically to avoid sectors that have already peaked or are falling. And so we just keep it really simple. Right now, silver, gold, the miners are where the play has been the entire year. And that's where we put our trade signals out on. And it's been very, very, very powerful and positive this year. And just to give you an example, you just referred to providing these signals. Every time we do a signal, we provide a target and we provide a stop, so that people can get a frame of reference for saying, hey, if this trade's not working out, when should I exit it? Or if this trade's moved up to a certain point, when should we get out? And I'll give you an example for today. Yesterday we had First Majestic, and we had a target at 11. We got in at 980. We're up 10% in 3 days. We hit our target. We hopped off. We hit another target today with another silver miner and a gold miner. And so we're picking up these 8 to 10% moves in a week, and that's been our average. And so we just follow our algorithm. It tells us when there's buying pressure, and it tells us when there's selling pressure, and we just rotate in and out of these stocks continuously in order for people to have outsized returns than they would get if they're trying to do this on their own or trying to work with a investment advisor. So it's worked really well. Diversification is not always good if you're spreading things that half are going down and half are going up. And we know, because the Federal Reserve and the politicians have told us that they're going to debase the currency to maintain power, and then you have to be gold, silver, and the miners to do that. And our track record speaks for itself, and we're having a fantastic month again in August. And Sean, too, just so you know, as we always do, we have specials running to the end of August, Saturday night, and we already pre-discounted them for your listeners. So no matter if you're a beginner or an intermediate or expert trader trading cryptocurrencies or trading the stocks or the ETFs, or you're looking for training or coaching or just learning how to trade more effectively, we have bundles for you. So just go to tradelikeagenius.com. You can call us, you can chat with us, you can email with us, and we're happy to hook you up. And what we charge for the service pales in comparison to the ROI you get out of the trades that we can provide for you. So thanks for letting me share about Trade Genius, Sean.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'll put the link below. All right. So what is your prognosis? This trade war appears to be getting a little bit out of hand. I'm glad Trump is there to play hardball. I mean, we know what would have happened with Hillary in the White House. She would have rolled over for, this entire globalist agenda. So I'm glad we have a president that's willing to play hardball. But boy, sometimes when you play hardball, you take a wild pitch to the noggin. How does this whole thing shake out? Is he going to have to ease up a little bit on this trade war with China?
Absolutely not. He already won it. And the Chinese are going to have to come hat in hand. And what people need to understand, Sean, is that trade for us is 5% of GDP. Trade for China is 40% of GDP. And all this hand-wringing around the world about, they're going to crash the stock market. Look, 15 to 20% of our population's in the stock market. But the benefits from trade restrictions that Trump's putting in is going to benefit the middle class. So the benefits are all for the U.S. And I just read an article today out of Hong Kong that said, look, the Chinese exporters are eating all the costs. They're trying to stay in business and they're trying to maintain their volumes. So every time Trump raises a tariff, the exporters are eating it. So the American people aren't seeing it at all. And Home Depot and Lowe's confirmed that. And they said, well, maybe next year it'll cycle through, but it hasn't cycled through. So Trump's going to just keep on the pressure. And here's the thing, if this grand solar minimum keeps playing out as it is, China's already in a world of hurt, Sean, with what's happening with their pig population. And now they're having some issues now with their wheat and corn production because of a blight moving through. And all they need to do now is catch an early winter. And the Chinese are going to have to come hat in hand to the United States to take our excess production. And when that happens, it's checkmate. So Trump could basically dictate anything he wants, because the last thing the Chinese need to do is to have starving people coming out onto the street. You can kiss social credit goodbye when you have 100,000, 200, 300,000 people in the street looking for food. So Trump's not going to lay off at all. In fact, he'll keep upping the ante until he gets China to fold. And listening to some of these other guys talking about, he has a lot of tools besides tariff that he can put into place. And we need to do it, because if we don't do it, China's going to checkmate us in the next decade. So it's now or never.
Yeah. All righty. Well, I was wondering if we could turn directions just a little bit and talk about this Jeff Epstein situation. Now, his own attorneys are saying they're skeptical of the official determination that he committed suicide, and they're asking a judge to oversee an investigation into the 66-year-old pedophile's death. My words, not theirs, but he was a pedophile. Pedophile Island. We've got Greater St. James and Little St. James Island. The feds stormed Little St. James. Wouldn't you love to have been part of that little group, the feds, the FBI, storming Little St. James? I wonder what they found.
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine, but they waited a month, which is really interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty funny. It was the most telegraphed murder in the entire world. I mean, people knew at the minute he was arrested that he probably wouldn't live 60 days. I think Las Vegas even had betting pools on it. But it doesn't matter. Just because he doesn't talk doesn't mean there's going to be strings being pulled out here, there, and everywhere. I mean, it touches all the elites. I mean, you've seen pictures every day of him with Larry Summers, him with Eric Schmidt, him with Bill Gates. I mean, this guy's tentacles have reached everywhere. I can't even imagine what it would look like if the whole thing got exposed. I think we would probably be all sickened.
Yeah, well, and I wonder if they discovered the tunnels. You know that there was a big cement truck recently delivered. It was expedited delivery to that island about a month and a half or two ago. I mean, was he literally trying to fill in tunnels because he knew the jig was up? You know, and now nobody's buying this story that he was murdered. Nobody on the left, nobody who's followed this at all believes that he killed himself. And the inmates themselves are saying it's virtually an impossibility. Even if he wasn't on suicide watch, almost impossible to hang yourself in one of those cells. So, I mean, the whole thing is preposterous. And then we've got the leftist Democrats, these Marxist candidates that literally do want to strangle this nation. They want to introduce, well, in the case of Ilhan Omar, probably would love to introduce Sharia law. These people are out of their minds. Meanwhile, Judicial Watch is going after Omar, saying that she committed election fraud, immigration fraud, tax fraud, all sorts of different types of fraud because she married her brother to get him into the country. And the Democrats, you'll notice, are amazingly silent. They don't care about actual corruption.
Yeah, look, I mean, the Democrats have it's all about the end game for them. So these are just distractions from the end game. So you don't give your enemy any fuel. You just move on. And but if she has Judicial Watch on her, she's not going to get away that easily. So it'd be interesting to watch. And you got Bernie Sanders there praising. First of all, he praised Venezuela. Now he's saying that the Chinese communist approach is the best way to tackle climate change and to pull people out of poverty. I mean, this is how nuts these people are. And with Joe Biden being literally and sadly, going senile, is that we're going to be faced with Kamala or Bernie or Elizabeth Warren, and I mean it's just going to be a freak show, on the left. So pretty scary stuff. And I was talking to some Canadians, and they said they watched the American political scene more than they watched their own Canada scene. It's becoming that popular now to watch this election, because I think it's going to be the election for the soul of America.
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, literally, the Democrats don't have anything. I've said this a million times, a broken record. They don't have anything to sell the American people. Open borders, abortion on demand, higher taxes, grab your guns. That's their platform. I mean, it's the platform of lunatics. And also, I'd like to note, and I made a video about this specifically, the Democratic Governors Association did what they were describing as a straw poll on Twitter. And I took it. I masqueraded as a Democrat. I took their stupid poll because I wanted to see, because a straw poll, as you know, Bob, shows what the actual grassroots interest is in every candidate. Whatever. People know how straw polls work. The point is this wasn't that. When you got to the end of the straw poll, instead of seeing how everybody voted and what percentage of the votes each candidate got, it said, here are your front runners. And it listed 4 or 5 of them, including Elizabeth Warren and Biden and who else was on there? Kamala Harris. That's what it was. It wasn't a straw poll at all. It was, again, the Democrats trying to fix the election for their establishment chosen candidates. So they'll bury people like Tulsi Gabbard, who actually has some common sense and rational approaches to, even though she's a Democrat and I don't agree with what she stands for. She's the best of the worst, and they bury her, just like they buried Ron Paul.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think Tulsi Gabbard scares them a lot, and so they're trying to exclude her. But she's not going to go down easily. I mean, she's she's half Samoan, half German. I mean, there's some iron in that backbone of hers. So it'll be interesting to see how she fights her way through this. But yeah, I agree with you. They're trying to, they were trying to lift Kamala Harris there for a while, but Tulsi Gabbard just literally destroyed her. And I know Elizabeth Warren is probably scared to death to go up against her as well, because she's just so matter of fact about her approach. But I agree with you. Her value system, other than some things on the military side, I don't agree with. But as a person, she's absolutely sane.
This comes from our friends over at the Daily Sheeple, and actually Dan Bongino spoke about this specifically and played a soundbite from this monster, this woman, specifically today. She says, Trump supporters are not fit for polite society. We have to level them. And the funny part is that she masquerades as a conservative, claiming to be a Republican. Her name's Jennifer Rubin. And basically, she said that Trump supporters are unfit for polite society. That's the reality of what we face, Bob. I mean, the enemy is at the gates. These people, like a conservative, she's a Trojan horse. The enemy is at the gates.
Yeah, she's probably a neocon, if she's a Republican at all. And these are the same people that want to take our guns away before they put us into concentration camps. So yeah, I just think they're all coming out of the woodwork, Sean. And look, these people are gutless wonders. And when push comes to shove, I don't think they're going to be able to do it. And so they're just bleeding from the rooftops.
Yeah, I don't think that they're going to be able to get the guns either. I mean, the guns are the line in the sand. The Second Amendment is the line in the sand, right? We're fighting for the First Amendment now. They also want to take away the Second Amendment. Just imagine where we'd be. I say it so many times. Imagine where we'd be if the witch was in the White House. You mentioned concentration camps. That's not such a stretch if you listen to what the Weather Underground said they wanted to do back in the 70s. Right? Those that couldn't be re-educated to the new ways, the communist ways, would have to go to re-education camps. And those that couldn't be successfully re-educated to the communist ways would be murdered. Their words, not yours, not mine. That's historical fact. Bob, thanks so much for your time today. Can you remind people of the website and how to sign up for Trade Genius?
Yeah, Sean, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's tradelikeagenius.com. And just go to our section on the bundles. You can call us, chat with us, or email us. And like I said, everything's discounted pretty well until Saturday night, and look forward to you joining us, and let us help you make money during these turbulent times.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, the link is below. Our guest has been Bob Kudla, one of the founders of Trade Genius. Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you. And guys, thank you so much for tuning in. As you know, real news 24/7 can be found at sgtreport.com, where my latest 3 videos are always sticky posted at the very top of the site. So thanks so much to my patrons, and thanks so much to all of you for clicking like and sharing this information within your sphere of influence. We appreciate your support, and thanks so much, guys. God bless. Bye-bye.
You now have a worldwide banking system that's telling their customers, hey, you have to pay me to hold your money. And they are looking and will be looking for an alternative. And that alternative is non-liability money, gold and silver.